Like, you can't derail an entire train to try and get it to become a car.
Think about it like a baby. Baby takes 9 months. They gotta cook. Takes a while to make a baby. Takes a while to make a building.
Always open to having more subcontractors in the old Rolodex. That's throwing it back for you.
We don't have any entanglements with you, John.
Yeah, these days that could have been interpreted differently.
Welcome to Nuhaus Knows, where homeowners go when they need to know because Nuhaus knows. Introducing our host.
Hi, I'm Professor Nuhaus, Rob Platt, here with my trusty sidekick, Ralph.
I am Erin Michelle, a.k.a. Ralph.
And I am John the Builder.
Every time it's gonna make
It's
me
gonna
laugh.
be great
It's gonna
every
chuckle
time.
every time. I love it.
I'm
so
John
much.
the Builder.
And then pushing buttons in the corner is Zach, and randomly chiming in as a layperson who doesn't know anything, I'm Ethan.
So, over the last several times that we've been together, we've talked about where the building industry is, how it affects you, how we got here, and some of the better ways to get started in considering a project for your home, whether you're building a new home or renovating the one you got. And we've talked about resources, materials, labor, other things, and we'll talk more and more about that stuff. Today, we want to talk about realistic expectations. Erin will tell you that probably the biggest thing we do as designers is manage expectations. What do you think, Ralph?
Yeah, I mean, I would say on the front end, that's the most of what we discuss is managing expectations of time, of what the property is capable of, what we can do based on municipalities, setbacks, yada, 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 budgets, limitations of the era that the home was built in, and various other things. So on the front end, I think most of it is managing expectations. I think once we kind of set all of that, then we sort of get to roll in a nice cadence of just enjoying the process.
Well, the fundamental issue is, first of all, we've told you that the very best place for you to start to maintain control is to find an independent designer and work with creating a design that you own that is specific to what you're doing and isn't something that's been modified or is created by the person you're paying to build it. So when you find your designer, when you come to us and you walk through the door, you have expectations the minute you walk through the door because you've probably been thinking about this a season, 2 seasons, maybe since you got married. Who knows? Every time something new happens, you have a kid or changing job or whatever, you start thinking about modifications to your home. So you get very excited and you come in with preconceived notions. My favorite, and we've been experiencing this lately, is people are still, and this wasn't far from the truth 15, 20 years ago, but folks are coming in and saying, okay, we like what you say, and we would like to go ahead and get started on a design. Maybe we can put this thing out to bid next month. No, that's not going to happen. Think about it like a baby. Baby takes 9 months. They got to cook. They got to simmer. Things got to happen. Got to add stuff to the stew. Takes a while to make a baby. Takes a while to make a building. So by the time you find us, you've got ideas about what you want to accomplish, and you've got to convey those ideas to us, and we find out, usually, that there are missing pieces in what you think you need. Because you've thought about some of the neat stuff, you've thought about the fun stuff. We discussed in previous episodes, one of the showstoppers is, what's your budget? So we frequently have to set you back on a course of determining what your budget is. We got to get through that. Once we determine what your budget is, we have to determine what we can do with your property. Do you have a survey? So we've had to, get you to go out and order a survey. Used to, we could get a survey back in a week or two. Now, it could be up to 4 or 5 weeks. It depends.
Actually, I think most of them are taking about 6 weeks now.
They're taking about 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So, because again, demand and less people to do the same amount of work. So we've got to get you out there and you got to get a survey and all this stuff. And you want to get rolling on the design. Now we've got to actually design the thing. We've got a target we can hit financially. We know what the restrictions are on the property. Now we've got to start producing this design. And we've got to go back and forth with you because you got to look at what we come up with and tell us what you like and what you don't like, and we've got to go through a series of modifications. And Ralph, how long can that take?
Depends on the people. Do you make decisions quickly? Do you disappear for weeks on end?
Yeah, we do get ghosted from time to
simmer
time.
over it. It's hard to put a target on it. But let's say that you are a person that makes decisions very swiftly, and you know exactly kind of how you want things to go. We recently had a client that way. She had a very clear idea of what she wanted the house to be, and she came back within 3 or 4 days every time we gave her something. And her design process still took, from the time that we measured to the time that she approved, it was a 10-week process.
Thereabouts.
And that was for a small renovation.
It was a reasonably, I wouldn't say complicated, but it was a busy little renovation. But it was very nicely done.
It was nicely done. I don't want to say small in the fact that I don't want to make it diminutive. We weren't like adding a second story or something.
Right.
If we were doing something of that magnitude, it probably would have taken longer.
We generally tell folks, and based on what Aaron just said, you're looking at an absolute bare bones minimum, and this is where Christ himself is involved, about 4 weeks. Since he's not big in building construction now, we're looking at 3 months on the average.
But he was a carpenter.
He was a brilliant carpenter. So, but we're looking at about 12 weeks. And that's a long time. But during the planning phase, thinking is a hell of a lot cheaper than doing. So we can work out things on paper. Now, this is something that we do, and most good designers will do. We have a builder, like John the Builder, and just so happens he's here today. No, John works with us, and one of the things we do with John, we trust him, we have great respect for his ability, and John has to bid for jobs like everybody else. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you got to compete like everybody else does.
That's the way it should be.
So what we do is we say we have a builder. We'll tell our client we have a builder that we trust, we like. We do not have any financial entanglements with him. I don't get commissions from you or anything like that. Here's a guy I
I'm sorry.
trust.
Every time you say entanglement, I just think of Will Smith and
Yeah.
Jada Pinkett Smith. I'm sorry.
Entanglement.
We don't have any entanglements with you, John.
Yeah, these days that could have been interpreted differently, fellas.
Yeah.
There we are.
I'm
There we
sorry.
are. John, I'm not entangled with you. So at any rate,
I agree. You're right. We're not.
You are
Damn
both
sure.
happily married men.
That's
right.
Anyhow, that being said, once we achieve what we call the preliminary design, that is the floor plan and the exterior and interior spaces that you're comfortable with, and you say, that's it, that's what we like, before we go into the permit drawings, because the drawings to actually pull the building permit are very complicated, and they're expensive because they're just time intense. We will take the preliminary design, and with your permission, we'll pass it to a builder of John's quality. And his request is, I will look this over and help build a preliminary budget for the privilege of being one of the bidders on the project. And that's very fair. And we'll talk about bids more in a few minutes. But that being said, we'll pass this to John. John will ask us some questions about finishes.
Yep.
Basics, what level of kitchen do they want? Do they want tile floors? Do they want hardwood floors? Do they want, paint, windows, what quality window, that sort of thing. Just basics.
You get no windows. We will not be putting any windows in the
Just big
holes in your
Just
walls.
be big holes in the walls. And John will come back with a number. Now, that number basically is, what would you call it? Averages based on current conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
it's
what it would be.
They're as close as you can get without a detailed set of drawings. So, to do that, your natural return number is going to be more than likely elevated.
Yes.
We call
Well,
it padding.
Yeah.
You got to.
You got to. Because there's things you just don't know what's going to happen, like with concrete. Concrete went up twice last year.
Yeah.
It's going to happen again. If it's not that, it'll be wood. It'll be something.
What's funny is how much notice do you get when it happens?
Typically 2 months.
Not long.
No, it's not long. No, because
Which is funny.
sometimes you've already bid the job.
Yeah, you've already bid
And
the
that job may not start for 2 months.
Right.
And you're already behind the 8 ball right there.
So John's going to come back with a number that is padded high. But what that does is that gives you a budget figure that says either that falls in the range that we thought it would and we feel good about it, so let's go ahead and proceed to the permit drawings because they're expensive.
Or I want to vomit and we're not going to do this right now.
Yeah, we call those Maalox moments. If you have a Maalox moment when you look at your bid and you feel kind of queasy and a little rumbly down low, that's time to start cutting things. And basically all we can shave out, which I love, clients, I don't know. There was a movie, The End, with Burt Reynolds. It was fantastic. And he was bargaining with God. He was going to commit suicide. He swam way out in the ocean, and he was going to drown. And he had a revelation when he was out far enough that he wanted to live. So then he starts swimming back, and he starts out by saying, God, I'll give you 100% of my salary if you'll just get me back to the shore, and I'll work on the weekends, and I'll put in time with charities. When he gets halfway back, God, I'll give you 50% of my income, and I'll work every other weekend for charities. And when he finally gets back to shore, he walks up and he goes, well, I made it on my own, and I didn't need you anyhow. Clients are that way. Clients will say, well, but we need all these things. Can't you cut your price? That's one of my personal favorites. Can't you cut your price? And when I was a builder, John, I don't know about you, I would say, well, I gave you my best price out of the gate. And if I cut my price without cutting anything I did, that means I was lying to you. So do you want to work with a liar or do you want to work with an honest builder? The question is, what are you ready to compromise and give up? So if we get a number back that gives you a Maalox moment, then you need to start shaving things out.
And quick question, sorry for that. I didn't mean to cut you off, John, but if I'm coming in, how much information, how do I find this information? How do I come in with an idea of how much I might cost initially if I want something done as a client? Is there a comfortable place to be?
It kind of works backwards, and that's a very good question. We, in the budget session that we did, we talk about A, find out how much equity you have in your home, B, find out creditworthiness, what will the bank lend you, and C, what are the best products you can apply to your house. That means you're going to come to me with, this is what I need, and we've got this amount of money. This is the max we can spend. That's where we do our magic, and we have to work backwards and try and work on our best accounting of how much construction costs per square foot today. And that's where we start. You don't really. But once we do that, and we say we think we hit the target, that's when we give it to John, because he lives in the here and now on those numbers daily. And that's what he's going to say, you guys came in really close, we're in a good place, this is it. When he gives the number back, it's like, hey, this is terrific, we can forge ahead. Or prices have gone up, or this has happened, or that's happened, and we've got to compromise.
However, something that's worth mentioning, based on that question that you just asked, is we have people that come to us. They will say, exactly what Dad just said. I need another bedroom because we're having another kid, and our kitchen is too small, and we need a home office. And our budget is XYZ. And we go, okay, great. And we get into the design phase, and we design based on the parameters that they gave us. And then they see it on paper, and they go, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. Well, now that I see that on paper, I would like for you to expand this thing out this way and add this patio over here, or do this to my dining room now, because they start to see other opportunities, and they expand the scope once they see what opportunities are. And so that's why sometimes when we get into the kind of preliminary budgeting phase with John, the numbers come in higher than they initially expected, because they started affecting more spaces or making spaces bigger than we originally proposed to them, because they got very excited about the opportunities.
Like we love to say, every solution breeds new challenges. So when we do the design and we show you the design and you can see it on paper, Aaron's right. For the first time, they're able to see, wow, not only could I do this, I could do more. They remember that they could do more. They forget that their budget hasn't moved.
Well, or some people, like we had mentioned the client previously, that she made decisions very efficiently.
Yes.
And came back very efficiently. As her scope changed, when we say scope, that is the size of her renovation. As that design changed, it's because her reasons for what she was doing changed. So it started off that she was going to sell this house. She just didn't want it to be demolished because the particular neighborhood that she's in, houses,
It's a historic flavor.
yeah, and the houses are a bit on the small side, and so people are coming in, developers are coming in, and they're buying these small houses and they're demolishing them and then building these McMansions in their places, and it hurts her heart and it hurts ours. And so she was like, I want to just add a little bit to this home so that a small family could live in it very comfortably and a developer isn't going to come in. Well, once we showed her the opportunities of what could be done with this home.
You can't see; she's talking with her hands. It's fantastic.
I don't know how to
Pay
not.
close attention, and you'll hear some of this stuff.
I don't know how to not, and probably you will. You'll hear me like tapping the table. But once she saw the opportunities, then her scope got bigger because she was like, "Oh, I am now going to live in this house because I can make this work perfectly for me. I don't mind that it's going to cost more. Now I'm willing to invest more into this house because now it's my house and I'm making it for me and I do want to put more into it." So not
Her criteria change.
Yeah, so not everybody does a scope creep and then freaks out. We do have a lot of clients that go, okay, yes, we're doing more. We understand it's more of an investment, but now we're making it perfect, so we're willing to do more of an investment.
So 2 questions on that then. One, for going off you guys as the designers, who owns the design? Who gets to keep that? And then 2,
That's a good question.
And then John, back over to you. How does this affect your bid? Does this give you a headache? Are you allowed to bid more, add more, lose? Like, how does that work when they start adding stuff on? So if you'll do the design question, then hit it over to John.
Well, the design question is, I forget. What was
The
it?
homeowner. The homeowner always...
I did drugs in college.
It was a senior moment.
I will answer that question. When the homeowner hires a designer directly, because I cannot speak for how contractors work, how contracts work when you hire a design build company, but when you are hiring a designer directly, the homeowner owns their design, which is why they can take it to different builders and have it go out to bid, and why they have full control, because they own their design.
Let me qualify that. If it's a renovation, because the design is for a specific house that won't shift. In other words, I can't do a custom design for a particular house and then move it to another house unless it's exactly the same, which doesn't happen. So for us, for our what we call retrofit design, additions, modifications, we have a clause in our contract, and most guys do. The client they don't exactly own it. Technically, they have free reign to use it to their benefit any way they wish. Now, and because it's called our work product. Mm-hmm. So to say they own it, for every intent, they do.
But we're allowed to put it on our website. We're allowed to use it in our marketing and that sort of stuff.
Conversely, if it's a new construction home, a custom house, that house could be built on another lot. Generally speaking, the designer retains ownership of the design.
Okay. So back to you then, John. What are those changes do to your bid, and how does it affect you, as you go along?
Well, like you're saying, like if they expand the scope.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I just saw a vein
Can I
bulge.
give you,
That wasn't a fun laugh from John.
John, can I give you a qualifier
Sure.
that helps you? Because I feel like the question you just asked him was like, tell me a little bit about yourself. And it's like, okay, do you have 3 minutes or 3 years?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it depends on at what point are they expanding the scope. If they're expanding the scope in the design phase, John hasn't seen the plans yet. So it hasn't affected his bid at all, because we're doing it all in the design phase and he hasn't seen any of it.
Right.
If they're changing the scope once he has sort of ownership of it, in a sense, if he is the builder of record and they are in construction, then that is a whole headache of things, because you have change orders and things, and I will let you take that over.
Okay. So yes, to speak to that, Yeah, it becomes a pain only if, for me, if they're changing structure, we're adding to that level. Because then I got to call Rob and go, okay, they're asking me to do this. I need your engagement on this to work through it with them so I know exactly what I'm pricing, first of all. I mean, if it's just a minor change of flooring here or there, that's not crazy. But still, it could impact the process as far as schedule. I mean, that is a true thing that it can impact.
Let's talk about that, because that's a great question. People futzing with the scope during the bidding process. If everything goes push, pull, click, click, we've got the design. Let's say we're at the end. We put the preliminary design to you. You came back with a budget. It was padded. It was high. We gave it to the client. The client looks at it and says, "Oh, well, that's the neighborhood we're in. A little higher than I thought, but I'm not breaking out in a cold sweat, so they're okay. Let's go ahead and produce the drawings for the permit." That takes us, on the average, another 21 days, because again, we're talking about schedules. So now we've gone. That's part of that 8 to 10 week or 8 to 12 week design window we talked about. The last 3 weeks on the average is how long it takes us to produce the drawings to pull a permit. And it's not just pull a permit, I want to say that. It's the drawings John needs to build the damn thing properly. So
it's the instructions for the Lego set.
There you go. Mm-hmm. And there are no pictograms. We wish there were, but there aren't.
That's technically not true.
Well, kind of. We do little ones. So we get this.
What's a pictogram?
Have you never built IKEA furniture? And see the little human being?
He just needs the definition because he's not bright. He has a degree in theater.
You saw the light bulb go out above my head.
I did. So we give this full set of documents to you, and you're ready to go.
You never answered his question.
Well, no, I didn't answer his question. I did.
Slightly
contextually. If you built IKEA furniture, you've seen a pictogram. It's a little guy with no hair and a mouth with no teeth who's holding a piece of wood, and it shows you how to turn it and hold the screwdriver. Yeah,
sometimes
I'm doing it with my hands again, by the way.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a hand pointing.
Yeah, it's just hand pointing. But we give this to you, and it's ready to go. It's got all the answers you need. How long does it take you to pull together a bid?
I need 30 days. I need 30 days to get the bid pulled together, because I'm reaching out to subs and numerous subs. Because just because I reach out to 3 doesn't mean all 3 are going to give me a number.
Yep.
I mean, it could just be 2. Sometimes it's 1, which drives me nuts. That's why I'm always open to having more subcontractors than the old Rolodex. That's throwing it back for you. And, that's to me, I need 30 days.
Yeah.
Because, believe it or not, some of these guys that I throw it to, they go, "John, man," they'll call me 2 weeks later. "I just picked up 2 jobs. There's no way I would be able to, have the manpower to help support you in your job going further, so I'm going to have to bow out." Well, that sucks, because then I'm scrambling trying to find some more guys to bid the job. So I need 30 days.
So we're talking 1 full month for the average project. A month is a long time. So now you've been in the design process for somewhere between 2 and 3 months. We pull this thing together. We get it to the builders because they're going to put it out to 3 builders to get competitive bids. And they're going to need at least a month. You are 4 months in from the time you started the process before they get a price.
And this is all
a firm price.
Yeah.
And this is all working on tight, ideal timelines.
Yes.
I mean, it could be 6 to 8 months, depending on the size of the project and your decision-making
Precisely.
abilities.
And at this time, I've already paid you for the design. Is that right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And does that change as you add?
No. Well, that's not fair.
If you change while you're working with us, yes.
Well, yeah. So we had a client recently who are absolutely fantastic and lovely, and they've been such a delight to work with.
Have been.
They are so lovely. And when they first came to us, they were like, "Okay, we want to expand the master bedroom, and we have some accessibility issues with the master bedroom and the master bath and the secondary bath. And on the other side of the house, we have some accessibility issues with the laundry room, so that'll be an addition. And then down the line, we kind of think we want to turn our back porch into maybe a screened-in room or an all-season room." And so we gave them options on whether to do the design for just the 2 additions or to do everything all at once, the 2 additions and the screened-in room, and they opted to do just the 2 additions. And then once we got into it and they really enjoyed the design process and really enjoyed working with us, then they started asking questions about the screen room. And we were like, well, you didn't hire us to work on that. However, we can retroactively adjust the scope of your contract and we can add that in because we do think it's best to design that all at the same time because spaces affect other spaces, roof lines and that sort of thing. So even if you don't build it all at the same time, we think we should design it all at the same time. So yes, in that instance, because they did add a design portion that was not in the original contract, we did expand the contract and their charges with us changed. But it was their choice to do that, and it was all very clear, and there were no penalties for not doing that or any of that fun stuff. So yes, there would be charges incurred based on.
In their case, there was an additional fee for the expanded work because it means a lot of work on our part.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And they saw, once again, just like every other client, when we did the initial design layout, they looked at it and saw other opportunities that would just be unwise to pass. That being said, now by the time John gets us a number back, we're at least 4 months into the process since the time you met us. And unfortunately, you could probably add another month to that because when the average client meets us and we tell them how much we cost, and they had no idea because they thought, we're going to get out for $750. No, that's not going to
There's a little sticker shock, and
Yeah.
they ghost us for a couple of weeks while they
shop.
Yeah.
So they do go shop for other designers?
People will, and
Yeah.
they should.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should. It's the thing. I mean,
Same thing with a builder.
it's like John says. And what do you say when I say, John, you're in a competitive situation. We got 2 other builders.
Great.
And the reason being-
Well, it keeps me competitive.
Keeps you competitive, and
it
you
keeps-
know if they choose you, they're sure why they chose you.
Yeah.
They made a conscious decision
And
through comparative.
And I'm gonna throw a caveat out there because I'm used to that side of the arena too that Rob and Aaron are in back years ago, and it used to always amaze me as a builder. You're cool with it. It's like, oh, it's a change order. I want to do that. Yeah, it's great. But as a designer, it feels like, well, I just paid you guys $20,000. You can't just hook me up with that.
Yeah.
I always thought that was amazing that you're cool with me getting it, but in relationship percentages of the job, it's kind of funny that they
Well, it's
would not want
tough.
to. Yeah.
When we're done, we give them a bill for $15,000 or $20,000 and hand them, 23 sheets of paper, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Hell, I could have bought that for $295 at Office Depot."
Yeah, they at least see like studs and stuff when
Yeah.
you make changes.
Yeah, so it's
They have tangible things when you make changes.
not to toot our horn too much, but I like to say the money we cost is the money we save.
Well, absolutely, because I think about some of these home builders, these home get people, they want to just go buy a set of plans off the internet. Well, it's great because on the engineering side of it, it says just adhere to your local codes. Well, that's crap. Because if I get it from you, no matter where I'm at, it's going to be to those codes. I don't have to worry about that garbage. I don't have to worry about seeking all that information out.
That is a whole other
Yeah, we got a
conversation.
whole nother episode for that stuff.
That's the can of worms we're going to keep a lid on.
Yeah, I
right
was
now.
hesitating to ask about the codes. So I know it's your favorite
well,
subject.
it's not even codes. It's just it's stock plans and the whole thing that he was leading into there.
So I guess what we're saying, folks, from the time you come up with this brilliant idea and you meet your first designer, you're probably not going to have anything tangible that really is, foundation for your moving forward for about 5 months. Let's get into part 2, and that is the reality of seasons. Winter.
Ooh.
Cold is cold. That's not that big a deal, but the days are short.
No, he says that, but I worked in construction with you, and it was really cold, and it was awful, and it's
Yeah,
awful.
when you're in management, you can get in the truck.
Yeah,
It's good.
well, when you're not, it's awful, and it's awful. And I had stock in hot hands. They were in all of my pockets.
yeah,
they were in my
pretty cool.
shoes. They were everywhere. Cold is not just cold. Just
But
gonna
the days
put
are
that
short.
out there.
Yes.
The days are short. You run out of sunlight 6 o'clock in the evening, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening. Builder has to stop working. That means that his guys, and it's called scattered site development. What that means is All the workers come every day. They bring their tools every day. Every afternoon, they pack up all their tools. They clean up job site and they go home. Every day, they come back and start over. You lose hours.
Because if they don't do that, their tools get stolen.
Yes. Every day, we have hours that go to setting up and tearing down. No construction, setting up and tearing down. And then if the day is a winter day, you may get 6 to 7 real hours of construction. You may.
Yeah.
Versus June, where you've got the same setup and tear down time, you can get 11 hours.
Yeah.
And the subcontractors, they want the money, so they're going to work as late as they can, as long as there isn't a local ordinance that says you got to get out of there.
Usually it's a noise ordinance.
Yeah, noise ordinance.
7 to 7 or something like that.
Which is not bad. So
no.
Then we got the other issues. You know, I was when I was building, especially in North Florida, I showed up on the job site 7 a.m., 7:30 in the morning. I was good to go. Now, this is the greater metro, traffic, people getting where they're supposed to be. I got a lot of subs. They start at the crack of 9.
Yep.
And there is no crack of 9. 9 is like, really? 9 is lunch for the old schoolers, you know. So we have long days and short days. When can we get started? Well, we'll just give you a great idea. I mean, a basic timeline. Our business picks up in the winter for designers.
I would say the busiest time people start is Halloween to Thanksgiving, and then everybody kind of goes dormant.
Yeah.
Because Christmas to New Year's, the beginning of December to New Year's, everybody kind of goes away.
And the holidays get kind of quiet, and people don't respond in 4, 5, 6 days. They respond in sometimes 2 or 3 weeks. We got one client you could practically set a watch by in 21 days. So we don't get a design hammered out until January. Then we get the working drawings done, and we go through the preliminary bid process, and so that carries us February into March. At that point, if they're ready to go, there's a chance, but maybe not, because you got clients that had their plans done last year, and they're sitting waiting for the weather to get better, days to get longer, things to get warmer, supply chains to loosen up, school year to be settled in, and they've got their plans and they're ready to rock, and so they suck all the capacity out of the market, and you're booked until September.
And as you mentioned previously, you can't bid on every job because you're limited to how many subs you have and your availability.
Yes, and I always joke with people, we really work 11 months out of the year because December is just a bust. It's just a bust because...
So is there a cheaper time of the year to start all this? Or is it a more affordable time of the year? Does it just fluctuate so strangely?
No, it just works out as far as on your schedule. There's a certain things you have to do in the process where you don't want it to hit in December. You just don't. You got to make sure somehow you pull it forward if you can, because you definitely don't want to throw it out. But if you can pull it forward, that's what we do. I mean, that's what we have to do. Otherwise, you can lose a month, and that's, I know it sounds crazy, but, and I know people go around and they see people working in December. It is not like it is normally the rest of the year. No. You will see some working, but it's not what you think.
So generally speaking, if you start in the holiday season of, say, 2023, you are probably going to break ground in spring of 2025.
I mean, ultimately, that would be the preference. And some people, they just, go, which is fine. We figure it out.
If you can get it. I mean, and again, it's the idea. I would prefer that our listeners prepare for that kind of a window rather than, we had one client, it's got to be done. I'm going to school and I'm going to have this done, and my kids are, my family's coming and my dad's sick or whatever, and we've got to hit some kind of a deadline that's just, I don't care how serious their need is, it's not realistic. You just can't do it.
And then unfortunately, that creates unmet expectations, which then creates resentment that is unfounded.
Yeah. Because
nobody can meet that in the industry. It's not that people don't want to. It's not that people aren't going to try. But it's an inability for the industry as a whole to mobilize and change how it functions for one project. Like, you can't derail an entire train to try and get it to become a car.
So, you need to be flexible. You need to be open-minded and realize that what you want and what you need may or may not be realistic, but that's why you're hiring professionals. Our mission is to guide you and tell you the truth, and we try to tell you what's in your best interest. And I will say this, keep in mind, as a builder for 27 years, I respect builders. I especially respect old school builders, which means I really respect John because he's really a Weezer. So
What he say?
I'm just saying, hey, what? Turn up your hearing aid. By and large, what I'm saying is most builders are very good. Unfortunately, because of all these things we've discussed, because of time frames, supply chains, shortage of labor, and I'm not going to get too deep into this, but because I'm sure that it's already on Ethan's list. He was asking, how do you determine what a good builder is? If a builder ever tells you, I can do this without a permit, run. Don't walk, run.
Like your ass is on fire and your head is catching.
Absolutely. That is run away. A builder that doesn't want to build under a permit means either they don't qualify, they do not have the skill set, they don't meet the financial requirements, they don't have the insurance. That's a huge one. So you got to narrow it down to builders that are licensed, insured, they know what they're doing, at least they're playing by the rules. That's number one. Now, among those guys, the people that are legit builders that know what they're doing, there's some that are legit, know what they're doing, and they're not exactly going to teach ethics school. Their favorite word is sure, yes, I can do that. Can you have this thing built by June? Sure. Because the fact of the matter is, when they break ground and they get this thing going, and in June it's halfway done, what are you going to do? You're screwed. You need people that are going to tell you the truth. So a lot of builders will say yes to anything. They're going to tell you they can hit the schedule. They can tell you everybody's going to show up on time. Everything is peace, love, and light. And of course it's going to come in at the cost you thought. Nope, not necessarily. You need a builder that's going to tell you the truth, and you need to pay attention.
I can remember a time during COVID when we had to put this clause in our contract that said if the price exceeds 5% of that line item, you're getting a change order, which is kind of funny. Now I think about it. Hell, I was willing to lose 4%. But, it's okay. That's what we had to put in there, though.
Absolutely.
Because you got to, that was a weird time. I'm glad we're past that garbage.
As an understatement.
So,
on that cheery note, I'm looking at the clock, and I'm looking at Zach. His eyes are getting droopy. It happens.
It's not getting droopy. It's making sure that time-wise everything is this. Yeah, no.
It's not that Zach gets tired. He drinks. I'm just saying.
Not a lot.
It's
Only to excess.
He
only
just
to
gets
excess.
bored with us.
Yeah.
I'm so bored.
Well, he did have an interesting question.
I've been texting Ethan the questions.
I've been watching.
We thought you were saying derogatory things, but I was.
Well, those are there too.
He'll say those out loud.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, we were going to ask, what's and this may sound such like a dumbed down question, but what's the fastest you've ever designed and built something?
One day, not built, but designed.
Well,
One day.
And that was design only. That was
Yeah.
not documenting the design.
But that's the fast part. You guys have it easy. It's just a bunch of programming.
Designed
I'm
on
going to
paper.
punch you in the face.
Yeah. No, actually, one day we had a client in Athens, Georgia, in a historic community. Fabulous house. It was incredible. He wanted us to take the roof off and add an entire second floor. We won an award for it. It turned out beautiful. Here was the catch. He came to me on Wednesday. A law was going into effect Friday night at 5 o'clock. If the design wasn't before the board and accepted, he couldn't do it. Period.
Now the board was giving us some leeway because they were not requiring the drawings. They were saying you can provide floor plans, elevations, and just a concept, and then they would count that as being submitted, and then that would buy us the time to do the permit drawings to submit it properly for a permit.
We blew out there. We measured it Thursday morning. We were out there for several hours. We came back. I sat on the design, stayed all night, cranked it out before lunch.
Yep.
On Friday, shot it up to the city. They accepted it.
And then he went home and took a nap,
He went.
which was fair.
And when it was built, it was fun. When it was built, people kept driving by and saying, you know, this is so beautiful. Is it for sale? Well, it was for him. He'd been wanting this house for years, and they would offer him a price. Then another person would come. After it was under construction for about 4 months, somebody walked up and gave him a price, and he called me and he said, dude, I am so sorry. I am not going to move into that damn house. I am selling the hell out of it. I'm going to make a fortune. and he sold it. You know. But,
now, it's funny you said something that did make me want to punch you in the face. But it's something that we have had clients say to us. It is that one right there.
Oh. You can't see, dear listeners, but they're pointing to a picture.
we screw with you by talking with our hands.
No, we did. We had a client once that was rather entitled, and she had a historic home. You'll remember in a moment.
The blank expressions are beautiful.
there was a historic home that had a lot of roof damage, not downtown. And the exterior didn't change much, but we added a lot to the rear of the home.
Oh.
Yes.
Back.
Yeah, he's back. He's now here.
Yes, I'm now reliving the nightmare
Yes.
in my mind while you try to forget.
Yeah.
You go to therapy, you take medication, you do what you can.
And she wanted several changes after the working drawings had been done.
That's the permit stuff.
And we said, that's fine, we can do that, because, you know, we're not going to say no. Obviously, if you want these changes done and this is your home, we're not going to say no, but we said that's going to be a change order and it's going to take a couple of weeks to get done. And she got very upset, and she wrote me an email and said, well, it's just a couple of clicks and a couple of buttons, and it's going to take you just a few minutes in your program to do this. Just do it. And I didn't murder this woman for completely underestimating, the complexity of my job and saying that our programs basically do the work for us, which I love. And we tallied up all of the work because, we had to, because our change orders are done. We charge them by the hour of what it took. And the changes that she required due to how many different sheets that it affected, how many different places I had to change it manually, it took me 40 hours of work to make the changes that she wanted. And in her brain, it was going to take just a few clicks and 5 or 10 minutes. And so that is also important to note. Like, when we say things will take time, we're not just being jerks. It takes time.
Yeah, there's some rules in the world. Never lie to your lawyer. That's a good one. Never get snarky with your designer. If you want a bathroom that doesn't work, we can do it. Well, at any rate, the point of this show was to let you know, plan. It takes time, but it matters. Do it right the first time. My dad always said, never time to do it right, always time to do it over. Be patient. Recognize that it takes time, but it's not going to take forever. Worst case scenarios we're discussing, you're looking at about 18 months start to finish based on all the variables we talked about. Selecting a builder, getting the design, getting the bid process done, hiring the subcontractors, to potentially doing it in the same year. But you need to be realistic, and you need to pay attention.
But when it's over, it'll be exactly what you wanted.
Precisely.
Versus having to cut corners or make huge compromises just to meet a certain timeline.
Well, let me grab John real quick, though, because your time frames, how does that affect, as you said, 18 months from beginning to end? And you're talking about sometimes there's dead months and whatnot. How much of those changes affect your timeline? If you get change orders, if you're getting constant add-ons or whatnot, does the market change as you go when you order materials?
Oh, yeah, it could. Case in point is concrete.
That's our bugaboo word is concrete.
It sucks sometimes. I just despise it here lately. But, like, let's say we're working in April. They've already had a price increase. There's another one coming in June, and we're 2 months in. It's a 5-month project. We hit July, and they want to add something that requires more concrete. Well, the price is going to be a little higher. And you asked about timing. That really depends on the scope as far as timing, because it can add days or it cannot. most of the time we try to squeeze it in with what we're doing because it just makes more sense for us to keep the schedule going and on track so that we're done. But sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes you have to extend it.
And we're giving very general swaths of time that we're talking about when we're saying 18 months, start to finish, and all of that stuff. When it's your project specifically, from the design side, when we know your scope, we'll be able to give you a much more clear idea of this is how long we think that your design phase will take, and this is how long we think that your working drawing phase will take. And John, I think you would do the same.
Absolutely. It's the same thing with me. Depending on the scope of work, let's just say we're doing a remodel and we're only talking about a couple of rooms or whatever. I mean, it could be a month, it could be 2 months tops, just depending. But then if you're doing a complete remodel of the entire space, it could go a year.
So what you're saying is this isn't, no pun intended, set in stone. This is an estimate of time and cost.
Correct.
You're looking at a certain amount, like an umbrella, of what you're going to do, and then if that changes, don't be surprised, right?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, and we're trying to let you know it can be overwhelming, but that's why you have professionals. That's why you need a professional designer. That's why you need a professional builder. You need people to guide you through this. Just as much you got to be represented in court, you need a lawyer. You're sick, you need a doctor. You're worried about your finances, you need an accountant. You need a professional in this industry to guide you. So until next time, have a happy life. See ya.
Very nice.
Hey everyone, it's me, Zach, your favorite button pusher. Wow, what an episode, am I right? I mean, so much information. Listen, we want to share the good word of Nuhaus Knows with everyone, and we need your help to do it. So, I need you to go on to Facebook, find Nuhaus Knows, Nuhaus Knows. We need you to go on to Instagram. We need you to go on to TikTok. We need you to go everywhere you can go. Spread the good word. Tell your friends about this podcast because we have a lot of big plans going forward. And we want to spread the good word, spread the message. We're also going to be getting a Patreon set up really soon. So keep your ears open for that so that we can tell you all about that. And you can get all the inside goodies about past jobs and all the craziness, and I don't know, maybe even see our faces a little bit more if you want. I don't know, I think we're pretty. So why don't you go on, find all of this so you could join us and get all the updates on what's going on with Nuhaus Knows as they come out. All right, talk to you guys soon. Bye.